How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Mother SpongeBob 1000. Today is December 6, 2021, and today we're going to focus on the snowstorm that will impact the Northeast later this week, as well as our next potential major snowstorm that could impact a lot of the Midwest with possibly over a foot of snow. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the United States radar map as of right now. And of course, we do have this mid-latitude cyclone moving through the eastern half of the United States, bringing snow just north of the Canadian and United States border, while for pretty much the entire United States, or at least the Northeast states, it's pretty much a rain event for you guys. As you see, the heavier rain bands are extending the upstate portions of New York, and a little bit of rain showers extending through Pennsylvania as well, and a little bit of lake effect snow in some isolated spots right around Michigan. But outside of that, there shouldn't be much of a threat. It shouldn't dump a lot of snow, as it does seem like the northwesterly winds will be strong enough to induce a heavy lake effect snow type event for those along the Great Lakes, and there isn't just enough cold air for any sort of snow to occur right in the middle of this rain shower activity. So as a result, it shouldn't be much of a worry. In the future, we do have some thunderstorms, but again, there shouldn't be much of a worry either in the southeast. But if we take a look at the Pacific Northwest, it becomes a little bit of a different story, especially if we move to the future, because we do see some snow showers extending through Montana, and while it's mostly light for the most part, this most likely will lead to our next snowstorm in the Northeast. So your questions might be how much exact snowfall you should expect from this cover system moving through, and where exactly the heaviest snowfall will fall. So I'll answer that in this video. Let's first take a look at the GFS model. So if we were to take a look at the surface map provided from the GFS model of where things should be as of right now, of course, I was talking to you guys about that. I was talking to you guys about that mid-latitude cyclone moving through. Not going to be much of a worry when it comes to snowfall, but this low pressure system will be a different story, as it's already dumping a decent amount of snow throughout the Rocky Mountain ranges right around Montana, Idaho, as well as Wyoming. But this storm is expected to move southward, and it doesn't seem like it'll encounter as much instability. This low pressure system will encounter as much instability as expected, because it seems like this low pressure system that's going to move to the northeast is a little bit weaker than expected, which in return means that the northwesterly winds are a little weaker than expected. So we should expect a less pronounced jet stream dip for a more significant snowstorm to occur out of this low pressure system. So for those who might not be that into the snow, this could be good news for you guys, since you'll experience a lot less snow in this scenario than originally expected. If we were to continue to move forward, you see that the low pressure system has a really tough time at least having enough lift or enough buoyancy right around the center of circulation within the air molecules for it to at least develop some sort of precipitation bands or some sort of rain shower area. As you see that there just isn't a lot of instability. The low pressure sort of moves far south enough from the jet stream to really this low pressure pretty much dissipates, but we still do see this snow shower that was associated with this original low pressure system maintain its strength as a result of just enough instability in this region to induce enough lift in the atmosphere for at least some precipitation to occur and for some condensation to occur. So as a result, we're going to see this area that was associated with this original low pressure system continue on, and that should lead to our next snowstorm for portions of the Midwest as well as the Northeast. You see that snow band develops right around the Ohio River Valley, extending through Indiana, southern Illinois, as well as Ohio, and you see the snow area does eventually grow larger as it heads further eastward, of course, since this will encounter a little bit more instability, which is what typically happens when low pressure systems get closer and closer to the Atlantic Ocean, where the Atlantic Ocean is still a lot warmer than the air temperature at this time of the year because, of course, water takes a lot of water to cool down than the air temperature. So as a result, during the winter time, the water temperature is typically always a lot warmer than the air temperature, and that creates a very unstable environment typically along the east coast for a lot more buoyancy with the air mass to occur right around this region, and that buoyancy will lead to the water vapor rising aloft and condensing into, and then it will eventually fall in the form of precipitation. And you see that's exactly going to be the case as this sort of low pressure system finds just enough instability as a result of the influence of the warmer Atlantic Ocean, and we see another low pressure system form, a new low pressure system form just off the southeast coast, where again it does experience a little bit of instability right around the Virginia, North Carolina region for a new low pressure system to form, and it's only expected to strengthen as it moves further eastward. However, the thing is with this low pressure system is that it's going to strengthen at a point where it's going to be too late for it to really peak in intensity when it reaches the northeast. And what that means is that since it won't be at peak intensity when it's at the northeast, of course the rate of precipitation will be lower, the area of precipitation will be lower, because of course when you have a weaker low pressure system, there's just not enough lift in the atmosphere or not enough winds to encourage a lot more convection. So as a result, the snow won't necessarily be heavy enough to be anything significant, I'd say, as most likely it'll be just snow showers extending through the northeast, but still a good amount of areas in the northeast could experience 1 to 3 inches of snow associated with this low pressure system. So you don't want to underestimate this low pressure system just because it won't be as significant as forecast, because again, 1 to 3 inches of snow could still cause some havoc on the roadways, especially if that snow falls at a fast clip. So you need to at least be aware of this right around the Wednesday time frame for the Northeast. And you also would want to be aware of this throughout the Northeast, because for a lot of you guys, this should be your first snowfall of the year. For a lot of the Northeast, this will extend far enough south to where you'll see snow in Philadelphia, at least some snow showers in Washington, D.C., and some snow showers in New York City, which could be your first in some areas, and in a lot of areas along the Northeast coast where it's a little bit more difficult to receive snow this early in the year. But you should experience your first snowfall and potentially your first accumulating snowfall this year. While in right around New York City areas, I don't expect over an inch of snow. I wouldn't rule out the possibility you could receive at least a dusting of snow out of this. So it's definitely something to be aware of and something you might want to be excited about, because this will be your first snowfall of the winter for a lot of you guys in the Northeast. So you definitely want to stay aware of this. Now, in terms of the certainty of the forecast, at this point, it seems pretty certain this will most likely be a light snowstorm. It won't really dump a very heavy amount of snow, and the most likely scenario is that for most of the Northeast, it'll dump mainly around the dusting of snow, less than an inch, or a little bit, or maybe no accumulation at all. That's certainly a possibility, but I'd say the certainty of snowfall is more likely than not. You should at least see snow showers fall this Tuesday, as there isn't a lot of uncertainty at this point, especially with two of the main computer models mainly agreeing where exactly how significant this snowstorm will be. However, there's still a little bit of uncertainty regarding this low pressure system, although I just said there isn't a ton, but there's still a little bit of uncertainty because the GFS model and the European model, while they both don't expect a significant snowstorm out of this low pressure system, the area where both of the computer models are forecasting the heaviest snow is a little bit different, and that could be huge because it could mean the difference of receiving no snow to maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow in your area, depending on which computer model is correct. If we were to take a look at the forecast for the GFS model, at this time you're going to see that the GFS model is expecting the heaviest snow right around interestingly enough, right around the Washington D.C. metropolitan area where they're receiving 1 to 3 inches or so, and this extends to the Delmarva Peninsula as well as southern New Jersey is getting involved in 1 to 3 inches, while right around New York City you're only receiving less than an inch of snow. But the GFS model is also forecasting the heaviest snow to be located right around New England, where Boston is experiencing 1 to 3 inches of snow, as well as the higher elevations in the interior Northeast experiencing 1 to 3 inches of snow, and in the extreme higher elevations, it's a little bit more than that. So it's definitely something you guys at least want to be aware of in the Northeast, that there's still uncertainty regarding where exactly the heaviest snow will fall, but most likely this won't be a significant snowstorm, but at least keep in mind of the possibility that you could receive 1 to 3 inches of snow, even if you're not currently forecasted to. If you were to take a look at the European model's forecast, you see that the European model is taking the heavier snow further northward, closer to New England, where along New Hampshire, portions of Maine, as well as the Boston metropolitan area are receiving right around 1 to 3 inches of snow, and this extends to the interior Northeast as well. However, just south of that, you're mainly only receiving maybe a dusting or no accumulation, and you see that where the area where the GFS model is expecting the most snowfall isn't receiving much snowfall at all in the European model's case. So there's still uncertainty regarding where exactly that heaviest snow will fall, but be prepared for at least a possibility of maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow, since the computer models are still uncertain regarding the area of the snow, but they're pretty certain that this probably won't be a significant snowstorm. But make sure to keep an eye on the updates over the next several hours, because there's still a very high possibility you could still, the forecast changes to where you experience more snow in that area. So so after this snowstorm, we have to worry about this next snowstorm that could move through the Midwest and dump a heavy amount of snow for a lot of the Midwest, and it'll impact areas further southward where it won't be just exclusive to the northern portions of Minnesota, North Dakota, and the Great Lakes region like we've been seeing with previous Clipper systems. This could affect areas further southward where Nebraska could get involved, Des Moines could get involved, as well as more southern portions of Wisconsin and maybe the extreme northern portion of Kansas. So if we were to take a look at what the European model is forecasting regarding the snowfall forecast associated with this next potential major Midwest snowstorm, this would be extremely significant for a lot of areas in the Midwest, because you see that in the purples you see here, in the pink to purple area, that's around 6 to 12 inches of snow right there, and even some areas in Minnesota are experiencing over a foot of snow, which of course would be extremely major for you guys, and this is impacting Minneapolis as well. So this is definitely something we need to keep in mind. Of course, it is a little uncertain because I'm forecasting this around 5 days out, and like we've been talking about, like we've been seeing with the previous snowstorms, a lot could change with the forecast within 5 days. But if we were to take a look at the European model, you see that the European model is expecting a little bit of a Clipper system move through, and this will set up for a strong northwesterly flow to bring another low pressure system from the Pacific Northwest further southward. And this low pressure system should encounter just enough instability, and there should be just enough cold air behind it to induce a lot of lift and convection right around center circulation for a pretty significant snowstorm to develop, where we do see thunderstorm activity develop on the eastern side of this low pressure system. And this low pressure system becomes quite potent with its millibar pressure dropping down to around 987, 988 millibars, where we do see a significant jet stream dip, and we see that classic mid-latitude cyclone look. And when we see a mid-latitude cyclone look like this, it's more likely than not a very formidable and powerful low pressure system. So this could be significant. You see that this heavy snow bands develop. We see enough moisture from the Gulf of Mexico move up into the cooler air mass, which will induce heavier snow in this region. And the convergence of this very cold air and this very warm air in a specific region will induce just a lot of lift in one area of in one area of the snow band, and it'll create very heavy and fat snowfall rates falling at a very fast pace, which could maybe induce maybe blizzard warnings if the winds are strong enough associated with this low pressure system. While again, I said that this snowstorm is being forecast 5 days out, so there's still a lot of uncertainty. But it becomes a little bit more concerning when we take a look at the GFS model, where we see the GFS model almost exactly identical to what the European model is saying regarding this forecast. If we were to take a look at the GFS model, you see that the millibar pressure is almost at right around the same as the European model, where both the GFS model and the European model are hovering right around the 990 millibar range, and their trajectory is nearly exactly the same. There are definitely a couple of differences, but I'd say they aren't significant differences, as pretty much both of the GFS's scenario as well as the European models are pretty much identical, and you wouldn't see much difference in impacts if either one were correct. So this definitely gives more confidence with the forecast, but again, we need to see if this holds up over the next several days. What will determine if we experience a significant snowstorm is really how far this jet stream will dip, because of course, if we see a more significant jet stream, that will force that'll enhance the winds overall right around low pressure system, and that'll pretty much speed up the pace at which convection occurs, because of course, we're going to see the winds blow over the Gulf of Mexico, which will bring a lot of that water vapor further northward, and as it encounters the cold air, it will rise aloft at a faster rate when the winds are faster, and overall, it just creates an accelerating process where the low pressure system continues to develop rapidly, and we see a lot more convection develop, as it's definitely something we need to pay attention to, and maybe something we need to pay attention to in the Northeast as well, because you see on the backside, we could see some snow associated with this, and maybe a severe weather threat associated with this jet stream dip this significant, as that's certainly not out of the possibilities throughout the Southeast, so keep that in mind as well. Now, in terms of what's expected to happen regarding the Arctic oscillation over the next several days, you see that we're expected to dip a little bit further down, closer to the negatives, which would mean that we're more likely to see some more significant jet stream dips and overall a more cooler than average environment. But we need to wait and see if this holds up, this forecast holds up, because it could dip closer to negatives than we think, which would create a more cooler and unstable environment throughout the United States. Now, here's my snowfall forecast regarding both snowstorms. So let's begin with the Northeast. So for the Northeast, I'm expecting primarily less than 1 inch of snow, extending for most of the Northeast and the Ohio River Valley, where areas such as maybe just south of Columbus, right around West Virginia, Washington, D.C., New York City, Philadelphia, I'm expecting maybe less than an inch, maybe a dusting to no accumulation. That's certainly possible. But again, don't rule out the possibility you maybe could experience a little bit more, maybe above 1 inch of snow, because again, we're still seeing inconsistencies with the computer model's forecast. So there's still that possibility you might receive a little bit more, but most likely it'll be less than an inch for most of the Northeast, but 1 to 3 inches throughout New England, extending to Boston and Hartford, Connecticut. So you want to prepare for a little bit more snowfall and prepare to shovel out your driveway, because this could be your first accumulating snowfall for a lot of you guys in right around New England. Now taking a look at the Midwest, so keep in mind this is just my speculation, and I'm forecasting this 5 days out, so there's still a lot of uncertainty regarding this forecast. A lot could change between now and 5 days, but as of now, we're expecting 6 to 12 inches of snow extending to northern Nebraska, extending to Minnesota, southern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and extending just to the west of Denver as well. 3 to 6 inches just south of that, and 1 to 3 just south of that, maybe impacting Milwaukee in this scenario. But again, there's still a lot of uncertainty with this forecast, so take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.